you think of like premature babies and you think of like 4 pounds or maybe 3 pounds, but I had never in my life heard the term of like a micro preemie. I never knew what that was or what that entailed. So when I went into labor on 25 weeks exactly on the dot, I panicked.
When Elliot was born, he was 1 pound, 12 ounces and 13 inches long. And it was just one of those things, you see this baby and it's not what you expected. And he's so tiny and has all these wires attached to him and all these tubes. And it's just absolutely overwhelming. And knowing then that also she's still recovering and she's not gonna get to see him for a while, it was just truly overwhelming. He's very small, he needs a breathing tube to breathe, he needs oxygen, but he's doing okay. They're very hesitant to tell you prognosis because they don't know.
It was amazing to us that Elliot was so small, and looking back, it's hard to kind of comprehend just how small he was. And one thing that we always think about is the fact that your wedding ring could fit over his hand and up to his shoulder. And that always just blows our mind to this day still, because it's still hard for us to imagine him being that tiny.
A big part of his NICU stay was getting his lungs to grow and getting him to grow and getting him to the point where he could take a bottle, where we could hold him, where he wouldn't need to be intubated anymore.
So we spent 96 days in the NICU, and one of his hardest things to overcome, I think, was getting off of the ventilator. He took 2 rounds of steroids, and the first time he was extubated and had the breathing tube removed, I think he only lasted about 24 to 48 hours. But that first 24 to 40 hours, I want to say he was maybe a month and a half old, and that was the first time we ever heard him cry. And I remember sitting outside of his bed looking at him, because now he had like a nasal cannula on. And I remember hearing this noise, and I was like, what is that? And then all of a sudden I looked, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's crying. And it was so happy to finally hear his crying, but also so sad because like I couldn't like pick him up and like console him.
With babies that small, they have a special kind of, it's called an isolette, but the box that they go into, and it's called the giraffe, and it's a super high-tech incubator basically for really, really tiny babies, and it has the ability to raise them up, and then also the whole bed can move up and down, and they can do, if there's a need to do any kind of procedure or anything, the whole thing lifts up and the sides open up, and it's a table for doctors and nurses to do whatever they need to do. Who knows how things would have been without something that advanced and have that ability to grow in that isolate like that. It is incredible that we have such a great facility and great nurses and doctors right here in central Wisconsin, and that was just something that amazed me the entire time that we were there.
And it's amazing how much the staff there basically become like your family. They helped us so much. We depended on them for everything around the clock care. And I'm so grateful for everything that they've done for him and for us when we were there.
I think that throughout our experience in the NICU, we are most grateful for the fact that Elliot received the level of care that he did, which we definitely believe contributed to him being the happy, fun, like normal little boy that he is today. And without those doctors and nurses, and without just everything that we've had, that probably wouldn't be the case.
Hi, I'm Elliot.
Elliot is just so strong, and he has gone through more in his life in 5 years, well, in the course of 3 months, than most people will maybe even ever. And just that he is who he is today, it hasn't affected him. Babies are very, very strong, and you don't think that, especially not a 1 pound, 12 ounce little
I remember
boy.
looking at him being like, there's no way he can go through all this, the poking and the prodding, and he did it, and it's crazy to think back on.
I feel really good because I'm big